Marketing for the now, marketing for the now, marketing for the now, marketing for the now. 10 minutes, 12 remarkable guests for 2 hours answering a singular important question.
Are you ready, Gary?
What do you think?
Hey everyone, welcome to VaynerX Presents Marketing for the Now Australia edition. I'm Amy Bradshaw, Business Director of Vayner Australia, and I am here with Gary Vaynerchuk. Hey Gary.
Amy, happy birthday. I'm going to make you blush right off the bat. I don't know if we planned this on your birthday, but I think it's epic. I think you're amazing. It's good to see you. And it is very, one of the worst things about COVID was I was on a 5-year streak of an annual trip to Australia. So this will scratch that itch. And hello, everybody in the comments. I see you all on all the live streams. And I appreciate everybody who's dropping the 5-5. Yes, big day next week. But today we are focusing on marketing with an incredible cast. I'll let Amy kind of give us the context.
Yeah. So this is a special 1-hour edition where we have 6 of Australia's very best marketers here to answer the question. I like that you're drinking wine and it's Australia. That's awesome.
I wish I could say it's a Hunter Valley semi-owned, but I don't think it is. I wasn't that clever. Go ahead.
So this episode, we've got a bunch of speakers, 6 of Australia's very best, answering the question, how do you breed a culture of fast decision-making? So let us know what you think at marketing for the now. And I'm going to kick us off with our first speaker. So first up, we have Susan Coghill, Chief Marketing Officer of Tourism Australia. Susan is a former ad agency devotee turned client. From her early days working on Apple at Chiat Day in Los Angeles, where she once presented creative to Steve Jobs on the beach in Hawaii, to learning about young men's grooming and dating habits for Unilever's Axe brand in Asia, to having Kylie Minogue perform a love song from one country to another for Tourism Australia in the UK. Susan's career has centered on a belief in the power of creativity to build brands, drive business, and shape culture. As Tourism Australia's Chief Marketing Officer, Susan is responsible for driving the organisation's global brand and marketing strategy, ensuring that Australia's tourism marketing efforts continue to cut through in the competitive domestic and international landscape. Together with a team of passionate marketers across the globe, Susan is committed to helping Australian tourism bounce back as quickly as possible from the impact of COVID-19. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. Great to be here. And happy birthday, Amy.
Susan, it is such a pleasure. I have so many questions. The rapid nature of marketing for the now won't let me get to even any of them. But first and foremost, how are you? How, for the global audience here, how is Australia doing currently? Because if we see everybody ebb and flowing.
Sure.
And then we'll get into the question.
Absolutely. Look, Australia's doing well. We have managed the crisis very well. We have, governments that manage the spot outbreaks very carefully. And look, our government leadership is making a decision about keeping our borders closed for the time being and keeping a policy of managing the virus as safely as possible. We're open to New Zealand finally. And we're looking forward to when we can start welcoming international visitors again and when we can get you back down, Gary.
I would love that. Big shout out to IG. We don't do Instagram Live too often. It's not part of the StreamYard thing, but big shout out to them. So everybody, I see a lot of you have a lot of questions for Susan. Let's throw that back up. The hashtag that you can use on Twitter if you want to join the conversation, hashtag marketing for the now. Susan, how do you breed a culture of speed? How do you breed a culture of fast decision making? Because I'm sure if COVID taught your business, COVID affected all of us in business, you at the highest levels, what stands out? I come from entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I have an incredible cynical point of view on big company speed.
Yep.
I don't even like VaynerMedia speed. And I'm in charge. So,
sure.
And that means it's very hard. What does make fast decision-making actually work from your perspective?
Yeah, look, first I'd give you some context actually, because we are a government agency, not a government department, but a government agency. We have an incredible range of stakeholders, whether it be our tourism minister or, the sort of 250,000 odd tourism operators around Australia. And to be honest, the 26 million Australian citizens who are, very vigilant about what we do and how we represent the brand both domestically and internationally. So look, we are by nature a very risk-averse business, and we're operating in a time that is fraught with challenges like we have never seen before. If you were to ask me kind of what the balance was previously about kind of being right or being fast, I'd say we were 90-10, 90 being fast, 10% being, 90% being right, 10% being fast.
Yep.
That has shifted in the last year or so. We're probably, 50-50. We still have to be very mindful, of reputation for our national brand. But my God, we need to respond very quickly when we had the bushfire outbreak last year. We went from no domestic marketing team at all in Australia. We were focused on international, inbound from other countries, to setting up a domestic team, a domestic business, and getting a whole range of domestic marketing content out in market within, 2 weeks or so. So 0 to an entirely new team and new initiatives, at rapid speed. And we've continued to keep that pace up as we've, faced into the COVID situation, both the international borders closing and what that meant. We were then turning to focus just on domestic travel, but then we had the problem of the state borders starting to close and those lockdowns, and that meant pivoting yet again to the type of messaging we could put into market, how we could keep Australians engaged and thinking and planning, and ultimately even booking, even if it's forward bookings for the next holiday. So we have changed drastically. If you'd ask me exactly how we do it, I think we put a lot of energy and emphasis in the upstream work. So we sweat the strategy early. We have a very clearly defined brand, very clearly defined marketing strategy, both domestically and internationally. We do a lot of stakeholder engagement up front. We make sure that our board supports where we're going, that the minister's office supports where we're going. And that allows us to have a very clear blueprint for what we need to do and move quite quickly.
Reading the comments on, on Periscope and Twitch and Facebook and YouTube here, knowing there's a lot of SMBs, mid-market entrepreneurs. What about when it's not COVID macro?
Yep.
How do people make quick decisions? Even Susan, actually, even at your level, forget about an organization or a team. How do you, Susan, the human?
Yes.
How do you think about decisive and quick decision making and adjusting? For me, it's easy because there's no board. I'm not publicly held. If when I stink, I look at myself in the mirror the next morning and go, "You're an idiot." I have a lot of compassion and empathy that it's easier for me to make quick decisions.
Yep.
How do you think about that, and how should people think about that?
Yeah, look, for me personally, full transparency, I am a deliberator. I probably emote outwardly with my team a lot. I have a board of directors personally that I use to consult on questions either about work or any individual decisions I might need to make. But ultimately, at heart, I'm a massive believer in the power of creativity, as Amy introduced me, and that for me has always been the guiding light around how I make decisions, what I commit to. I know that it's important to feel the fear sometimes in the decisions that you need to make, and you just need to do it anyway. For me, it's a combination, I suppose, of, again, that upstream work, which is so important, that I'm grounded on what I'm trying to achieve, who I'm serving, where I'm going. I consult the right people around me, and then sometimes you've got to make the leap and go.
I love that. Final parting thoughts as we wrap up here. These go fast. Anything that people, all the people that are aspiring after COVID to come to Australia, you want to give a little plug?
Oh my God, I can't tell you. I'm obviously a new Australian. I'm originally born in America. I have literally the best job in the world because I'm selling this most amazing country that I fell in love with and inviting the rest of the world down. We are waiting for you. We're ready. The industry cannot wait to start to welcome you guys back down. And we're going to make sure that glass of wine that you are drinking next time is a beautiful Hunter Valley Semillon, or my favorite, a Margaret River Chardonnay.
I'm a huge Llewellyn Estates is one of my favorite wines in the world.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you for being on.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks, Susan.
Before you introduce our next guest, big shout out to Mark Kang on Facebook, who just said that he bought Ethereum, which means he is plotting for my 5-5 drop. Oh, and Lisa Buckley, Amy, our teammate Lisa Buckley is in the in the chat. Anyway, go ahead.
Cool. So next up we have Zach Kitschke, Chief Marketing Officer of Canva. Zach joined Canva in 2013 as one of the earliest employees. Since then, the visual communications platform has grown to over 55 million monthly active users across 190 countries, with over 5 billion designs created at a rate of over 100 designs per second. Today, Canva is growing from strength to strength with a current valuation of $15 billion US and over 1,500 team members around the world working to empower everyone to design. Having worked across product management, communications, human resources before establishing the global marketing function, Zach now oversees all of Canva's international brand and growth efforts, from product marketing to PR and communications, affiliate and performance marketing, content marketing, brand and creative development. Welcome, Zach.
Hey folks, how are you?
Zach, it's such a pleasure.
Amy.
Yes.
You too, Gary. Been a while.
It's been a long time. I'm a very proud, when I was starting my second fund, which I ended up not doing, one of the few investments I made was in Canva along with Chloe and all that team. And it's just been amazing to watch your journey. Proud of you guys. Love seeing the crew. The last time I was there, you made 3-4 years ago. What a success story. And it's great to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Why don't you tell the 5 people that don't know what Canva is? And obviously for a lot of people, actually, that's a little, in the creator ecosystem, it's omnipresent, but actually I think a lot of people here come from different angles. So why don't I give you 1 minute on Canva and then we'll say where it is.
Sure. Yeah. So Canva, I guess the simplest way to sort of pitch it, it's a simple, easy to use online design platform. And so we started out back in 2013, so been kind of going at it for 8 years now. And you can jump onto canva.com, drag and drop design platform, makes it super easy to create, anything from social media content through to videos, even, t-shirts. Actually, presentations has become our biggest sort of design type recently. Yeah. And so seeing that exploding as well. Yeah.
Zach, let's get right into the question at hand, because these 10 minutes go like this. Canva being such a young company, me getting a sense of melody from those earlier days and the rest of the team. But, how many employees now at Canva?
Just over 1,600 now.
Yeah.
1,600, yeah.
So, how does Canva create a culture of, fast decision making? And as a CMO, as a key decision maker, do you pride yourself, like when you think about fast decision making, do you see that? Like I hear fast decision making, I'm like, yeah, like that's my fucking jam. I have a lot of friends that I respect tremendously that are like, no, Gary, I'm a thoughtful, measure twice, cut once. I'm like, respect. When you hear fast decision making, how do you feel about it?
I think for us, it's sort of an interesting one because Canva has been on this, sort of explosive growth journey. I started back in 2013, and there was 5 of us back then. We're now 1,600 people. We're 55 million, monthly active users, so 55 million people using Canva each and every month, all around the world. 100 languages, 190 countries, and we've been doubling, year on year. So I think in the last 12 months, we added 30 million users. The marketing functions kind of growing incredibly rapidly. So I think something that we've found is the company and the problems that we're solving for look completely different. Every 3 months, 6 months, things break, and so that kind of forces a fast culture. We need to be moving quickly just by the virtue of how we're growing. And I think the way that we sort of handled that is a few things. I think it's like getting the right team in place. Going back to your values in terms of decision making, but also just acknowledging that we're all kind of on the biggest kind of rocket ship of our lives, and needing to learn as well. And so I think something that is definitely true for me and true for the team is just that culture of always learning and being kind of comfortable, not having all of the answers. Everything that we do is kind of a new problem space to get into and sort of new things to learn.
Quick public service announcement. The concept of bone broth and wine at the same time is maybe the greatest combo that nobody knew they needed. but I'm enjoying
Really?
it here. Yes, I'm enjoying the double beverage.
Like milk and juice or something, isn't it?
It's a little wild. Zach, what's the biggest thing you've learned about speed at Canva?
The biggest thing I've learned about speed is, like I think there's decisions that you need to make quickly, and there's things that you need to act on, and there's decisions that pay to take a bit of time on. Like a couple practical examples for us. From during COVID, obviously, every business and every organization had to kind of adapt overnight, and we sort of hit pause and did a big reset, at that period, and really for us it was about firstly making sure we had a handle on what it meant, and we're looking after the team, and then looking at the community and making sure that we were supporting them. In that case, like one of the things that we sort of did, which I think was a good example and something that we're continuing to try and bake into how we do things. One of the first things we saw was actually just this sort of big change in terms of what people were searching for on the platform, and things that people were creating. And one little anecdote was we just saw this huge uptick in Zoom backgrounds. People kind of searching for that content, and so really quickly kind of got together and just launched a whole suite of Zoom backgrounds. And it was just something a bit of fun at that point in time, but generated a huge amount of sort of love and interest on social, and we got a whole lot of coverage off the back of that. And so I think in a marketing context, being able to kind of respond in sort of real time to some of those things, something there.
I like that. Actually, let me ask you this way. When you think about executing, which is what we really think about a culture of speed, how much do you think it comes down to casting, picking the right people on DNA? Or how much do you think it comes down to an organization that has a great training and learning agenda? We're just getting to that at Vayner 12 years in, because we're a young company too. How much do you think it comes down to kind candor and optimism? Like, break it down for me on, like, to me, I'm most fascinated, because I think a lot of people are going through different journeys on casting. Like, I always found that one fucking person, Zach, with a middle or upper middle management role could slow the whole fucking thing down. Thoughts? Yeah,
I completely agree with that. And I think I would definitely prioritize like character, and hiring. I think you want people that can learn and flex, and they're adaptable, and they're able to move quickly as well, particularly in a realm of change. And hiring for that ability to actually learn. Go and collect information, talk to people, figure out what's going on, bring that back and distill it into something that makes sense. And it's kind of, I think, two things really, right? Being able to set the right goals and craft a kind of vision, and then being able to kind of execute and, push at all costs to get there, right?
I love it. Zach, thank you for your time. I wish you well, continued success.
Good to see you again.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh, next up we have Brent Smart, Chief Marketing Officer of IAG, the Australian insurance giant with leading brands including NRMA and CGU. When Brent joined in 2017, NRMA Insurance was ranked 36th strongest brand in Australia by Brand Finance. Now it is the third strongest brand in the country and the strongest brand in the insurance brand in the world. This brand strength has translated to commercial success that has seen NRMA Insurance win 3 coveted gold Effies in the last 2 years. Previously, Brent spent 20 years in the advertising business, rising to CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi New York and leading New Zealand Agency of the Decade Colenso BBDO. Originally from Melbourne, which explains his love of Aussie rules footy, Brent lives in Bondi, same as Zach actually, with his wife and 3 sons who don't love Aussie rules footy quite as much. Thanks for joining us.
On that footy point, Brent, take it from an American football fan who's one of his greatest sporting event experiences was a playoff footy game. Remind me, Brent, I was on a wine trip. This was in 2002. The silver and black team, Collingwood. Yeah, Collingwood. I went to a Collingwood playoff game.
Finals. Finals, Gary. We call them finals.
Finals, respect. I went to a Collingwood finals game, knew almost nothing about the sport, had a half a bottle of Shiraz in me on the way there and tried to learn it from the guys that were taking us on this wine trip, and had one of the greatest sporting experiences of my life. The passion was incredible.
Yep.
And as a passionate American football fan, the wife and kids scenario, you have to become a dictator, Brent. This is unacceptable. They have to be passionate. First of all,
trying, Gary.
Yeah, I respect. Listen, before we get into the question, I just want to say that it's really great to be on with you. I've admired your work from afar, being in the same ecosystem, and it's a real pleasure. I hope you're well.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Yeah, great to be here.
Let's get right into it because these go quick, as you can tell, being in the green room. You know, you've been in agency landscape, a real icon as a leader. You're now the CMO of a very large organization where you've built a lot of brand equity. But I find it, one of the things that, I said it earlier, I don't know how long you've been on, Vayner itself, I feel, is not fast enough for my ambition. You can imagine what my opinion on the Sachis and the BBDOs are. And then an IAG where, in short, like I have a lot of, it's not that I have cynical or negative point of view, it's actually compassion and empathy, knowing human behavior. When you think about speed, fast decision-making, is that even an oxymoron, or is that were you able to bring that energy? Is that culturally relevant? Is that possible? Break it down for us from your perspective.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge in a big insurance company. They're not built for speed, and they're built to minimize risk, right? That's kind of what you do in insurance companies. So it's not easy doing it inside here. But the thing that's been amazing for me, having done 20 years agency side, is the ability to make decisions when it comes to ideas. So, I spent 20 years trying to get clients to buy ideas, and invariably I thought they were buying the wrong idea. And the great thing now is I'm able to pick the idea, but then create all the conditions that idea needs to be great. And I actually think that's where you can bring enormous speed to any process, be really decisive when you're picking ideas, and then also clear all the barriers that get in the way of great ideas getting to market. And in an insurance company, they are many. And so, yes, I'm chief marketing officer, but I actually see my job as, and this sounds a little bit sort of wanky possibly, but my job is to shepherd ideas through this corporation, which is built to kill ideas. And I think that's a really important part of my job.
On that note, I have the great luxury of, one of the great honors is I've had some really strong executives, which is why I admire Sachi so much, work at Vayner, that I've gotten to know. And, Sachi's so iconic, and BBDO, one of my points of view is the subjectiveness around creative creates a lack of speed. Mm-hmm. But when I hear you talk to that, do you feel, and this is now a great question for everybody who's watching, do you feel one of the, we're both starting to get a little more gray hairs than we had. I see your beard. Yeah. Do you feel as we become older, and there's a lot of kids watching, a lot of executives in our similar spots, do you think learning from the past and knowing what not to do is an incredible way to get faster? Thoughts?
Yeah, I'd probably answer that a little bit differently. I'd probably say experience. And I think people who have the experience to really trust their gut and trust their intuition, I think that's a beautiful skill set that's becoming rarer and rarer in certainly in corporations. And so I think that can enable things to go really, really quick, right? Because if you've got good intuition and good gut, then you're going to make a call about an idea where other people would probably want more information, where other people would probably want some research or want some validation, or whereas I think, the really great people I've worked with in places like Sachi and BBDO throughout my career, they've got this incredible intuition around ideas. And I've thought a lot about, can you learn it? I definitely think you can get better at it, but I think there are some people who just have this incredible
by the way, Brent,
inbuilt ability,
I can get better at tennis. I'm not going to be Novak Djokovic. I can get better at boxing. I'm not going to be, Floyd Mayweather. I agree with you. Like, I think that we have this incredibly uncomfortable issue with talent where we have to recognize, Alan Harker, our global CFO, just said thank you because I'm referring to him as one of the good executives. Mm-hmm. He's going to be naturally more comfortable around numbers than I am. That's just the punchline of the game. Mm. Like I
Absolutely.
can get, people, to your point, I couldn't agree more. I think while I've got you, because I admire you a lot and I think this will work, how much do you think decisions around creative are political and a little bit audacious and a little bit ego and a little subconscious? This is my leverage point. I'm fascinated by, I loved you just completely, I already liked you from afar. You completely won me over with, it's my job to get things shipped. I think that the marketing and agency and brand ecosystem is based a lot on, and I don't view this as a bad thing. I think it's unconscious, subconscious bias around knowing that your opinion is your leverage, and then thus awards, headlines become an ecosystem. And it comes at the expense of speed and shipping things. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think sometimes that can be a negative thing, and I think sometimes it can actually be a really positive thing, right? Because what's absolutely proven in all the effectiveness literature is fame is the most critical thing if you want your brand to be effective. And you know that, right? That's what you do really well, Vayner, right? You make brands famous, you get them talked about, you get them in culture, right? So
100%.
So part of that ego around, I want to do famous work and I want my brand to be famous, I think is incredibly positive ego. I think where it can be quite negative ego is when it gets caught up with, I want credit for this, you know, it's my name on this and all that kind of stuff, which I think is really a big problem, right?
You're saying, hey, make it about the work. The second you start becoming selfish, you know, it becomes a muckery.
Absolutely. And
can I ask you a question? I'm being wildly selfish at this point because I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, sure.
I've been spending a ton of time, I have a lot of audience in Australia. And obviously now with Amy coming back to her roots, we're going to start getting more serious about the marketplace. It's really been one of my favorite places on earth because it was a place I fell in love with in my early age because of the wine business.
Yeah.
Making work famous as the CMO of this insurance company now, on the juxtaposition of traditional, digital, what an incredible time for us to be alive, because the only other time that I'm bad at most things, but I'm good at history. We are living through similar challenges that marketers had when we went from a radio predominant society to a television predominantly society.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are clearly going from a marketing standpoint, from a TV commercial predominant society to between OTT, social, for the first time, I'm seeing people not named me talk about things like brand is being built in social media. How are you thinking about that, given your incredible background of knowledge in one ecosystem? How do you challenge yourself on speed of education, whether it's NFT or TikTok or influencer? You're still in the prime of your career, but you have this incredible expertise in a genre. How do you think about that as a human? Because I think that will help a lot of people challenge themselves on evolution.
Yeah, so a few things. First thing, my kids, right? I got 3 kids, and they are unbelievable educators when it comes to TikTok and some of the things they're doing. It's fascinating how they think about brands and so I find them a constant. And
what are their ages, Brent?
I got 3 boys, 13, 10, and 7.
That's great.
Yeah, so and it's just so interesting. Like, I mean, the idea of I'm going to create my own content and monetize that. That's just kind of like what you do for your part-time job now, if you're a teenager. It's really interesting, right?
Everybody's an entrepreneur and a creator because the cost of entry is so low.
Exactly. So there's that. The other thing is I've hired people who bring a very different skill set to me. And one of the smartest things I think I've done is in this sort of whole content social space is don't hire marketers. I hired someone from the publishing media world to run all that. And it's a completely different mindset. It's publishing every day. It's what's going on in culture. And whereas it's not sort of working to that strict sort of framework and process that marketers like, right? And that's been a game changer for us.
In Australia, from your point of view with this incredible seat at the table, do you think that people have realized they can get scale and build brand and social, or do you think still that they think of it as a little appetizer to the above the line and you push down?
I think the smart brands have. So just take us, for example, NRMA Insurance. Like, we're in a low engagement category, right? People don't want to engage with insurance much in social, but we've massively changed that. And I can now show that, like, if you look at all the engagements in social in our category in Australia, we get 80% of them. Our market share is only 12% nationally for our biggest brand. So we dominate, and I can show the positive impact that's had on our brand. It's an absolute competitive advantage for us. But I think it's and not all, right? I think you've got to be doing that really well and doing the brand fundamentals incredibly well too, right?
Has there been where we've really cracked the code is using social brand building to get consumer insights to then go up with the above the line versus, let's say, doing the research work and pushing down. Have you seen nuances on that?
Yeah, look, we do that as well, right? Like a really interesting one for us, because in our category, the bushfires obviously had a massive impact here in Australia. We're the biggest insurer in New South Wales, which had the biggest brunt of the bushfires. And we were responding daily, hourly to what's going on around the bushfires. We felt we had to. But what was interesting, we got unbelievable insights from our customers that we're able to then use in our marketing. For instance, and what's interesting is since the bushfires, like the bushfires now are, over a year ago, what we've found is there's still a whole bunch of people who need mental health help in this country. And we saw that in social. We saw it through social commentary, and we kind of launched a new campaign with Lifeline, which is a sort of phone line that supports people, to say, we're here to help you still. So that's a classic example where what we heard in social totally informed a really big brand action for us. So I think they have to live together. And I find insights from social way more actionable than market research insights,
This was even better than I dreamed it. Brent, thank you so much. I wish you well, mate.
Thanks, Gary. Good on you.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, next up, we have a guest who I think, Gary, might match your energy. We're joined by Melissa Hopkins, Chief Marketing Officer of Optus. As Chief Marketing Officer of Optus, which is an Australian leader in telecommunications, which delivers cutting-edge communications and entertainment services, Melissa officially joined Optus in Australia in November 2016 and leads the team for all customer-facing marketing and engagement. A self-confessed tech freak, she is renowned for creating impact with brands with bold and ambitious campaigns in complex and challenging environments. In January 2020, Optus was recognised as Australia's strongest brand and was awarded Mumbrella Marketing Team of the Year. In November that year, Melissa was named third in CMO 50. Prior to Optus, Melissa was a global head of brand for Vodafone in London and previously led brands such as Absolute Vodka, the British Army, Nestle, and Fujitsu. Melissa has lived and worked across Europe, Asia Pac, the US, and the Middle East, and has been a guest lecturer at the London School of Economics, a contributor to Fast Company magazine, and a mentor to various US-based startups. She's an advocate for mental health and sits on the board of Batia. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thanks. Hey, Gary, I'm so chuffed. I'm just pissed I'm not drinking wine with you.
But isn't it like in the morning, look what's going on in my background. It's getting late. I'm allowed. What time is it for you?
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not sure if wine is super appropriate in that reality. Melissa, I love your energy. I'm a fan. Let me get right into the question. How do you, in such an incredible organization, think about speed? As a CMO, this has been the theme here, the creative, subjective opinions and tact and talent versus putting things out in the world. What's your gut on that question?
Look, I think, to be honest, it's just part of my DNA. So I make quick decisions. I don't make foolish decisions. I make quick decisions, and I believe I can make quick decisions because I'm a master of my craft. I get deeply frustrated when things go slow. But if I'm really honest, and you talk about fast decisions, I think a whole lot of people don't either make the fast decisions or they bitch about not being able to do them because they're terrified that with every fast decision becomes huge accountability. It's on your shoulders when you make a fast decision. You can't hide behind a system or a process.
Talk, Melissa, because I'm reading all the comments. Everybody's watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I'm trying to make the show better. Talk about accountability. I love you for bringing up that word. I'm working on a new book that I'm dropping in November. I have an NFT project that I'm dropping next week that has a focus on one character around accountability. How much, don't you believe, I love that you brought that up. You've completely inspired me right now. Don't you believe that accountability is incredibly underrated as a gateway to happiness?
Oh, massively. Massively. I mean, we only have one life and we're responsible for it. I've made some tragic decisions both at work and to be honest, I've probably made some pretty crappy personal ones as well at times. I believe that I'm happier and more fulfilled because I don't allow other people to drive my decisions. So, look, obviously in business, I'm working with a team and I've got to be sensible, but one of the best pieces of advice I got many years ago from an awesome ECD, a guy called Glenn Jacobs, actually out of New York. You know, he said to me, the only person driving this car, Mel, is you. Stop saying everybody else is. So accountability equals happiness and optimism, to be honest. But it also, you know, I got wrinkles because I make decisions every day, and my head's above the parapet, and I could get shot down for making the wrong one.
I love that. What about speed? You know, one of the, you know, I think we're two peas in a pod, and I've always kind of like in our interactions believe that. Do you, you know, after hearing your answer there, let me just go to the logical next step. Do you believe it's your responsibility to create safety and eliminate fear, which then leads to fast decision-making and speed?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't believe I make unsafe decisions, but I'm going to give you two examples of where fast decisions happen every day. The best one was being spoilt enough to work with the British Army for 4 years.
Amazing.
Right? That institution is based on fast decision-making when you're in a combat situation.
Oh,
right?
You want to talk, like, that's when you're like, I mean, you want to talk about fast decision-making.
You know, and they're trained to do so. Now, they try to do it in a safe form. Obviously, there are lives at risk. I'll talk about another passion of mine, Formula One. You know, you're going at 300 bloody kilometres an hour. That is fast decision-making every single day. Now, they've got safety around them, but there is always going to be some risk with fast decision-making. But I'm an adrenaline junkie. So, you know, there is risk. I could crash the car.
Are you a bungee jumper and like all that kind of shit?
Yes, I've jumped off. Yes, I've done all of that. Yeah.
You know what's funny, Melissa? I'm really legitimately not scared of anything except the following three things. The health of my family, petrified. Like I think I'm Superman with one very simple kryptonite. My mom or dad calling me and saying they're dying. Like that to me feels like I want to, I like this, you know? Two, snakes. Melissa, I do not fuck with snakes.
I don't like snakes either. Hate them.
Fuck
Terrified
those fuckers. Number three, which is ironic because my NFT project next week has a lot of snakes in it. Number three, heights. You don't seem to be scared of heights. I don't fuck with heights.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, I'm not great with heights. So I'm actually not great flying, but I'm
Wait, flying in an airplane?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I've flown all around the globe. I'm crap flying.
Oh, I'm amazing. I actually am more comfortable in a plane than my own bed. I'm so comfortable.
No. I sort of I freak out flying. No, I think I'm scared of heights, but again, it's the adrenaline. I'm pushing myself out of my boundaries. So, you know, I bungee jumped twice in my early 20s, and then 2 years ago, I jumped off when I was, then 45 in New Zealand again. And I was terrified, but the feeling afterwards was damn amazing.
Two comments from the gallery. John Kelly has the same fears as me, big love. Pope's King says, move out of New York. New tax proposal, whopping 58% if you're over 400,000. On the record, I'll pay 99% tax to live in the greatest city in the world because I'm cozy as shit in this section. Final question: What can people do to get faster?
What can people do to get faster? Stop deliberating. I mean, there's this really fantastic quote that McKinsey came up with that managers at a typical Fortune 500 company spend 500,000 hours a year deliberating, making decisions.
Ugh.
Right? So I think stop deliberating, stop asking for permission. Make a call and take the risk. Do it safely. But it will empower you.
I love you. Good to see you, Melissa.
Bye. See you, Gary.
Cheers.
Our next speaker is Alexander Meyer, Chief Marketing Officer of The Iconic. Alex is a people-centric, innovation-driven and purpose-led Chief Marketing Officer for Australia and New Zealand's leading online fashion, sports and lifestyle retailer, The Iconic, a business in which he and his team are championing the conversation on diversity and inclusion, body positivity, sustainability and fashion. Alex and his team focus on how to successfully connect brand and creativity with data-empowered decision-making and MarTech excellence. He's grateful to have gained intercontinental leadership experience in global, regional, and local business setups of different sizes, such as Adidas, Vans, and even pre-Alpha. While having a steady focus on bridging the intersection between brand, product, and sales, he's all about driving human connectivity. For him, it's all about the people, employees, customers, and partners alike. Alex also notes that his personal experience of growing up in East Germany, where his dad was 15 when World War II ended, and he himself was 15 when the Berlin Wall fell, has shaped his thinking and being more than anything else. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, Gary. Nice to meet you.
Such a pleasure,
Thanks
Alex.
for having me.
You know, being born in the same part of the world as you, I'm going to go into a different part of the question because I was very inspired by that.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think your ability to be grateful because you lived through those two iconic events, you know, at one through your father's eyes, one through your own eyes? I don't know you and immediately literally have goosebumps because I know that you have gratitude because you have context of how it can be.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, gratitude comes through radical changes in life. Yes. That you have to go through and adapt with. And it has really not only shaped how I'm grateful for things, but also how I think about things and how I stay agile about things.
Well, you took everything out of me, but I'm going to try to get everybody to see it. Do you believe that you're able to be fast? You said agile because you have business in perspective. You know, you want a real secret about me, Alex? I think the reason I'm very good at business is because I don't care about money or business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, I know it does. Which is why
you're forced to let go, and you're much easier to get into the flow of things.
The reason I'm sharing it with you, just inspired by that 15 and 15. I've never said this. I know a lot of fans on here. That's the truth. Like, I actually don't give a shit about the money or even business itself. I like the game of business because I can play it forever because I like games. Yeah. And I wonder if you find yourself being able to flow quickly because you have such context of how much harder it can be because of you and your father's life and perspective. Yeah. Do you think that has led to you being fast?
Yes, I think so, because it creates a sense of vulnerability. You know, change can happen all the time. A week before the fall of the Berlin Wall, or even a week before COVID put the whole world into lockdown, nobody would have ever thought and believed something like that can happen. But if you've radically experienced it, and if your whole identity is at question at the age of 15, you're forced to just realize that you're not connected to a location or certain thoughts of identity that you've been, molded by, in essence. So once you've gone through that, you find a lot more comfort in the uncomfortable, I think. And that's actually what I'm always trying to breed as a culture is, in essence, two aspects. It's transparency and vulnerability. Transparency because people, in essence, really love context, and it's much easier to take them on the journey to, if you need to shift and change. And vulnerability because it makes you be able to listen and observe and have empathy. And from that point of view, once you're building a culture of transparency and vulnerability, it's much easier to shift and change all the time. I fully agree, Gary.
I love that. Alex, how can organizations or even humans, people who are employees watching and or are entrepreneurs, from your perspective, with your wisdom, how can people get faster?
I mean, for me, there are probably two main things. First of all, always stay curious. That's the number one thing for everything. Like, don't get used to your environment. Don't get used to the setup. Don't get used to your org chart. Just stay curious to always discover new things because it creates a sense of openness. And that's the same for individuals and for teams. But then the other one is we've developed early a mantra in alignment between the marketing team and our sustainability team that we call progress over perfection. Just dare to lean in. At the end of the day, sometimes you need to put the egg before the chicken. And the problem here is that a lot of businesses are scared of, the social mob and shitstorms of sorts. But don't be scared of it, because all you have to do is trial things, do things, and if it's negative, learn from it and show that you're receptive. Show that you're learning from something that you did. So take away the fear by just doing, and then whilst you're doing things and whilst you're leaning in, whilst you're taking a stand, whilst you're taking decisions that might not be the right ones, that you're always able to learn and take things on board. And that's what we're trying to live by as a company. And we're lucky because we're only 10 years old and we've in essence been born in the court of the public eye. We built our business on the back of social and search, and only afterwards, like you described it before when talking to Brent, based on the data and the realities that we found, also went up in the funnel. To really develop audiences, but it's really all based on that online experience.
Because it's real, Alex, because it's real people.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I'm blown away by the audacity of classic marketers sitting in boardrooms thinking the 6 of them are the smartest fucking people on earth when we have the internet. I don't know if you've heard about it, Alex. It's called the internet. There's people.
Yeah, I mean, it is really the greatest time to be alive as a marketeer, 100%. Like there's so much free opportunity for you to learn and connect and really use technology as a positive here to drive that human connectivity, you know, in how you show up and how you use it in essence. So I always say on the back of something that our CEO once formulated in a discussion that we had, online as a mindset, not a channel. And because you know, we didn't have high traffic on the high, or a lot of traffic on the high street. You need to, from the get-go, not only develop a product that people want to maybe habitually use, you also need to find ways for them to come to you in the first place. And so in that essence, when you're an online pure play business, you have the advantage, if you do it well, to really learn what people are about and to react with agility all the time. And in our case, we're a retailer. We represent at any given moment in time 1,300 brands and 80,000 products on site. So we're forced to shift focus and priorities here and there.
You made a tremendous call out. For all the kids that are watching, my number one piece of advice is to work in retail for a year.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I cannot believe, I thought that I was doing my parents a gift by giving them my first 10 years out of college to build their business for them, and then I was going to do my thing. And it's one of the greatest accomplishments of all time for me. Yeah. I gave back to my immigrant parents, right? Yeah. In hindsight, I always knew, I was smart enough to know that the memories and spending that time with my dad was something that one day when he wasn't with me would forever fulfill me. What I did not know at 22 when I made this big decision was, oh shit, retail. And I was very unique. I had the luxury that I was in retail and Sasha Vaynerchuk cared about sales, Alex. Mm-hmm. He didn't care about brand. He cared about sales every day. I knew that I was going to leave one day, so I cared about brand because I didn't want the company to collapse when I left because I knew that I was such a driver. So I focused heavily on brand because brand sustains longer. It takes longer to decay.
Yeah, 100%.
What I didn't know was retail was going to teach me so much. I mean, it's unbelievable to me how it's very obvious to me when I am competing with academics, philosophers, creatives, their lack of retail experience being in there with humans is a real disadvantage for them.
And the interesting umbrella that I see with retailers, it spans across two extremes. On one hand, they say retail is detail and you need to basically know everything and be on the pulse all the time. You look at numbers all the time and all those kind of things. But at the same time, it also requires you to be agile and fast all the time. So you kind of need to know everything and you need to be fast. And so it really expands your horizon on so many levels.
Kimberly K. Wells goes, Gary Vee knows what an end cap is. Got to respect that. Not only, Kimberly, do I know what an end cap is, the innovation I did with an end cap for 15 years, like I literally watched human beings walk through a store for 12 hours a day for 2 decades. I just know what humans do.
Huge school. Yeah.
Alex, parting thoughts on how people can get faster.
I mean, for me, it is really about the words that I mentioned before. Stay curious, be transparent, and require and request transparency from your leaders, from your business, from your peers.
Obviously, I'm sorry, I should have asked that question better. Obviously, you mentioned that, but I mean, as a leader of people, how do you make them, you can say that. Of course. How do you actually make that happen?
So one of the things that I always found very useful is, if you bring the squad cross-collaborative idea into accountabilities, so if you mix the matrix idea with accountability, I basically try to train people to be a functional leader, but at the same time be responsible for other topics across the team or the business at the same time. And so it's very easy for us to tune in with the rest of the business. So this kind of squad meets metrics and accountability point, I think, is a really good one. And then the other one for me is break up budgets in different ways at different times, and break up org charts at different times in different ways. So basically force some sort of change into the team naturally, also when the times are good. It's something that evolves, change responsibilities, change the org chart, change the budgets and metrics you look at, and through that foster constant collaboration, learning, and with that also, of course, always allow for trial and error in essence in your culture and your team. The rest will come by itself.
Alex, I appreciate you. Stay well, my friend.
Thank you. You too, Gary.
Oh, last up we have Josh Grace. Josh is Samsung Australia's Chief Marketing Officer and was recently recognised as VP Marketer of the Year. As CMO, he's responsible for driving the brand growth of Samsung in Australia in a business that stretches across mobile, wearables, tablets, TV, sound, home appliances, display monitors, and digital displays. Prior to this, he ran marketing across Asia for Abbott Labs out of Singapore. His early career flourished in advertising before his move client-side. During this time, Josh rose to become part of Leo Burnett Sydney's executive team, whom the One Report recognised as a top 10 agency in the world. He also happens to be a 2-time sailing world champion and represented Australia at the Sydney 2000 Olympics. Thanks for joining us today, Josh.
Thanks, Amy.
Josh,
Hey,
that
Gary.
last part. Hey, mate, how are you?
Good, mate.
Josh, let's get right into it. You're CMO of a major market for one of the biggest brands in the world. I've had the luxury of interacting with the brand through the years, and have a lot of respect for it. Very, very, driven from its mothership, which has its own, when you're a global company, how do you create speed in such a environment?
Yeah, well, I think you've actually highlighted that the job's quite easy in Samsung, because for 50 years it's done nothing but innovate at speed, and the culture that exists in the business is one of speed. I think we probably launch 50 products a year on average. I've lost count of how many products the team is launching. And so the speed is kind of inherent in the business from its inception. I think where the speed has to be created is in the communications realm, where at a local market level, you have that responsibility. And really, at that point, it's about creating, from my perspective, a space for the guys to actually operate in that they can operate at speed with.
Through your career, since we're wrapping up here, what have you seen that stops speed?
Fear. Fear is the enemy of creativity. Fear is, a deer stops in the headlights. It is the enemy. So what you've got to do is create courage and create an environment where people are prepared to take a risk and not worry about it. And, I think one thing about Samsung is it's really good at that, actually. That, one of my old bosses used to say, it's much better to be wrong than to be slow. And which is, quite an interesting thing for a president of a subsidiary to say, but, he was really just trying to say, just take a risk, guys. And the current president's the same. He really just wants us to try stuff. Even if it doesn't work, he'd rather we tried and we failed and we learned and we get on and try the next thing.
Who in your career mentored around speed, and or what event allowed you to become more fearless, or what variable eliminated fear from you? Was it experience? Was it parenting? Or was it a mentor?
I think it was an experience, and Amy touched on it with the sailing, right? I think, first of all, I was a young kid starting my career, and I had to make a decision. Am I going to keep trying to pursue the career ladder with my peers, or am I going to go off for 4 years and sail around the world and race in all these exotic places? And yeah, there was an element of fear, but I guess the payoff was pretty good as well. But I think actually the lessons of Olympic level racing are really relevant for marketing, in that there were two things that drove our success that helped us win the worlds. The first was keep it simple. We used to say KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And the second was preparation prevents poor performance. And so, learning how to do something and do it in a very simple way over and over again creates that reflex action that you need to be able to operate in a fast environment. And when you're racing the world's best competitors, that's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to execute your moves in that moment. And I think Melissa before was a great example of someone who has built a reflex ability around being able to operate in a marketing environment at speed. And it's the same thing. She's done it over and over again, and she's just able to execute now with instinct where others don't. And so I think what people have to do is just start doing it. Like, just take some small risks, make sure you're doing it around something simple to start with, and execute it, and just keep going. And once you do that, it'll get easier.
Josh, what keeps a brand from Samsung, like Samsung, from being, and I'm not specifically speaking of Samsung, and definitely not specifically of Samsung in Australia, but big brands, why are they slow or feel out of place in new places like Clubhouse or TikTok or influencers? Why do big brands struggle with doing new things right?
Yeah, well, I think bureaucracy and scorecards. You know, in some regards, the bureaucracy is essential when you're running an organization at this scale. I think there's a couple of 100,000 people that work at Samsung, so you do need it. But you know, the unintended consequence is it does create checks and balances, which are the enemy of creativity in that sense. And so, you know, for us, our products, especially the mobile products, are at the heart of social. You know, we can't not be a part of TikTok. We can't not be a part of Snapchat or Instagram or Pinterest even. So we have to be playing in that field because the content is being consumed on the devices that we manufacture. So it's just natural for us. But I think it's very easy to see why other organizations would have those barriers and not be able to embrace it the way it should be.
Well, I've got you for 2 more minutes. What social networks, if any, do you consume and enjoy?
Well, I've vicariously lived through TikTok and Snapchat because I've got a 15-year-old girl. So I think I know all about snapping my best friend and spying on where they all live day to day. She was doing it this morning while I was driving her to school. But for myself, it's more Instagram and it's Facebook. And principally because of my passion. My passion, you know, are sailing, for example, and I just love to be able to follow and stay in touch with everything that's going on in that environment. So, you know, that's the beauty of what social does. It brings those communities together and enables you to stay connected with whatever floats your boat.
I love that. What is the fastest thing you think you and your team are doing right now? What, like, when you break down the molecules of the org, whether it's meetings, you know, for example, if you asked me that question, I would say, probably the fact that I'm very passionate about doing 5 and 7 and 10-minute meetings, because almost everybody I know in the world makes those 30-minute meetings. And one of the reasons, you know, everyone's like, Gary V, you hustle, you're burned out. I'm like, I fucking sleep 8 hours a day. It's that I'm very effective and fast during the day. And one of the fastest things I do that I think is unusual is I do a lot of 5 and 10-minute meetings. When I ask you that question, is there anything that you can point to that you feel leads to speed?
Look, I think that the team, COVID's created a really extraordinary environment for all of us, right? And the one thing I think is just the ability for everyone to check in daily and stay connected. Our team has, you know, has become really good, I think, at, despite the fact that I'm in the office, a lot of us are now working remotely, and we've just become really good at that quick check-in and to move things on with agility, using the power of the networks and technology that's been created for us. And I think that's been one of the brilliant things of COVID, is really that it's accelerated this usage of technology in some really positive ways.
100%. This mixed world we're going to live in is going to be great. Josh, thank you so much. Continued success, my friend.
Thanks, Gary.
Cool, thanks, Gary. And thank you for everyone joining this special edition of Marketing for the Now Australia. It's awesome to be able to highlight some of the CMOs that we've got down here and the talent that's happening in Australia. I've got a note to speak about the next show on Thursday, the 20th of May from 12 to 2 p.m. But Gary, I know it's a big passion of yours right now. So if there's anything you want to say about this episode dedicated to NFTs.
Yes, everybody's watching. The Marketing for the Now on the 20th, I think is going to be the biggest episode that we've ever put out. We're going to be talking about NFTs from a brand standpoint, which is insane. And obviously I will be 15 days removed from what's going on the 5th, which I actually wanted to spend 2 seconds on while I have this whole audience, because I'm getting bamboozled by everybody about this. So yes, we have Marketing for Now on the 20th. I don't want to bore you, Amy, but hang with me here. Yes, the 20th, please register. Please go to mftn.com. VaynerX.com to make sure you register and don't miss it. It's going to be crazy and really powerful for you. Quick little tidbits before I bounce out of here. You definitely need a non-custodial wallet, preferably MetaMask for everybody who's watching. I just posted an article on my blog for the 5th. I know all of you are asking. It is a Dutch auction, so the tokens are going to drop, not all of them on the 5th, and they're going to go down in price. I've told a lot of you that you should have at least one Ethereum because the floor of the entry level tokens is 0.5 and there's some gas fees. I have no idea if people are going to pick them off at higher prices. So, I'm very excited about this. You're going to be blown away with what I did in the smart contracts. The ambition is to make this, when you see it and understand it, you will understand that I built it for the community. My greatest ambition is to see what happens and then make sure I do all the actions to make sure it's a great investment. I do think NFTs are high risk, and this is not financial advice, but I'm very passionate about it. I'm very excited. Amy, I expect you to buy one. So make sure you get your MetaMask and Ethereum loaded. May 5th and then May 20th, marketing for the now. Big episode on NFTs. I'm going to tweet out the link right now, Gary BEE on Twitter, to the 5 things you should know about May 5th. That will help a lot of you asking a ton of questions. Here we go. See ya. Bye, everyone.
There you go.